This presentation is based upon the short story A Worn Path, written by Eudora Welty. What I love about A Worn Path is that Eudora Welty incorporates many themes and imagery in this short story. Every time I've read this story, I've discovered a new direction. Eudora leaves enough room on the pages to create more of a deeper perspective in whatever direction you choose. I chose to present a deeper understanding of the theme ageism. You might be thinking, me? Ageism? I'm only blank years old. Aaron, I don't need to be listening to a dumb presentation about age, because dude, I'm young. Well, you see, the second each one of us is born, we're aging. Each day, every single one of us is growing, but when you reach a certain age that people think is, quote, old, then you fall under the category of ageism. Why are we prejudiced towards so-called people, old people, when we all are aging? Dictionary.com states that ageism is discrimination against persons of a certain age group and a tendency to regard older persons as debilitated, unworthy of attention, or unsuitable for employment. As a society, we tend to discriminate and have stereotypes. Our tendency is to group together certain people in different categories, whether that is a negative or positive thing, and age is one of them. Prejudice of ageism not only happens at the interpersonal level, between two or more people, but also at the personal level as well. For example, the sign on the left says help wanted, but if you're over 55, please do not apply. And the sign on the right is a mask to look 10 years younger, and I think this is a parallel to all the anti-wrinkle creams and other creams that try to lessen your face of age. I guess somehow they want you to think that. Eudora develops ageism throughout the short story A Worn Path by certain dialogue between Phoenix Jackson and the other characters that interact with her. Phoenix Jackson is the main character. She's an old Negro woman who lives a ways away from town. She's traveling to town to get medicine for her sick grandson. During Phoenix Jackson's journey across the worn path, she encounters many trials that should have discouraged her or even hurt her physically, but she kept moving forward. The first problem with ageism that happens to Phoenix Jackson is the hunter she runs into on the path. The first thing that the hunter says is, "Well, Granny?" And then later throughout the dialogue, he says, "Anything broken, Granny?" And all throughout their conversation, the hunter never asks her name, never asks if she needs help. He just addresses her as Granny and thinks she shouldn't be out in the woods all alone because she's not safe and she's too old. Phoenix Jackson finally gets rid of the hunter and finishes up her journey to where she was going, which was to get medicine for her grandson. And she ends up getting to the doctor's office or whatever office they wrote about, and the attendant right away says, "A charity case, I suppose." And Phoenix doesn't answer her. She just looks at her and she goes, "Speak up, Grandma. What's your name? We must have your history, you know. Have you been here before? What seems to be the trouble with you?" And Phoenix still doesn't answer her, and she's staring blankly at her, and she goes, "Are you deaf?" cried the attendant. Throughout this whole situation between the attendant and Phoenix, you can tell that, again, the attendant did not get to know Phoenix and ask her in a way that makes her feel like she's understood and she's not being discriminated by her age. Then the nurse walks around the corner and addresses, "Oh, that's just old Aunt Phoenix." And here we see that the nurse uses Phoenix's name instead of calling her Granny or a charity case, and she starts to speak to Phoenix Jackson, and she's asking, "How is the boy? How are you? Please take a seat." And you see the relationship that the nurse has built with Aunt Phoenix, and that she's not discriminating her by her age or race or gender or really anything here. So in conclusion, Doris Roberts, he testified at a Senate hearing, said, "My peers and I are portrayed as dependent, helpless, unproductive, and demanding rather than deserving. In reality, the majority of seniors are self-sufficient, middle-class consumers with more assets than most young people and the time and talent they offer to society." We all have an important role in society, whether that be from our jobs to our relationships to just simply living in the world. And with the golden rule at the center of most people's lives, I mean, I know for sure my life, is treat others the way you want to be treated, because before you know it, you'll be over 60. And this prejudice, thinking of over 60 is old, you'll be old before you know it. And actually, we're all old. Since we were born, we've all been aging. And so I want to leave you with this, that your age does not define you, so don't let it. And Phoenix Jackson definitely did not let her age define her. She took a journey on this long path, and she came about many trials that tried to take her out, and she didn't listen to them, and she kept going, and she made it. She made it to the nurse's office and received the medicine for her sick grandson.